I never imagined a Playboy locked in my office would turn out to be a millionaire doctor. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I was drowning in an abyss of paperwork, deadlines roaring like a monster in my ears, when the door swung open. In walked this stunning man, casually ruffled, with a wild charm that sent my heart racing. His smile? Irresistible. "Can I help you?" My voice shook as I tried to choke back the whirlwind brewing in my chest. He leaned against my desk, the scent of cologne mingling with the stale office air. Bright blue eyes danced with mischief as he introduced himself. A Playboy? That's what the rumors claimed. But was he really just a pretty face? His name rolled off his tongue like honey. I wanted to dive into his world, yet I felt the weight of my mundane reality pressing against my back. He talked, and words flowed like a river, but my mind kept flickering to the clock. I had no time for distractions, especially not this heart-stopping temptation framed by the chaos of my life. Behind those charming words, an ominous mystery lingered. Why was he here? What did he want? There was something about the way he looked at me, with intensity and depth, that made my heart race with excitement and fear. Suddenly, he leaned closer. I could feel the warmth of his breath mixed with an underlying tension. "I know more than you think," he whispered, gaze piercing straight through my carefully constructed armor. My pulse quickened. My palms grew clammy. This wasn't just a casual meeting. The atmosphere thickened as unsaid words pressed against the silence. My heart pounded, breaths quickening. He shifted, and I caught a glimpse of something on his wrist, an expensive watch reflecting a glimmer of gold. It didn't match the persona of the reckless Playboy I thought I knew. "Who are you, really?" I found myself asking, voice barely a whisper. His gaze darkened, shadows creeping into those vibrant eyes. "You have no idea." Just then, a loud crash echoed from the lobby, snapping us back to reality. My heart dropped. What was happening? Was someone in trouble? My thoughts spiraled as my instincts screamed for action. But before I could move, he grabbed my arm, and for a split second, the world faded. Time stood still. It felt like we were the only two people in existence, suspended in an electric moment of uncertainty. Then, without warning, he released me. I stumbled back, breathless, and suddenly, the door swung open again. Someone entered, but their silhouette was obscured by the light behind them. I barely had time to process what was happening. My heart was racing. Two thoughts screamed at me: who was this mysterious man? And what had come crashing through my reality? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The door swung open, revealing a figure shrouded in golden light, an unexpected interloper who immediately disrupted the fragile tension that had electrified the air. At first glance, my heart lurched with a flicker of panic, then tempered into confusion. Standing there was someone I recognized: Jenna, my childhood friend, now a prominent figure in local journalism, her wind-blown hair framing a face that mirrored my own shock. "Sorry for barging in." She paused, catching her breath, eyes darting between the astonishing stranger and me. "I just got a call about an incident downstairs." "Something about a fight." "A fight?" The ominous edges of my anxiety sharpened as it cut through the haze of earlier distraction. The noise from the lobby, the crash I had heard, started to play back in my mind like a haunting refrain. "What happened, Jenna?" Her features were tight with urgency, but as her gaze landed on the man leaning casually but intensely against my desk, curiosity glimmered through concern. "Oh, just some angry patrons." The security team is on it. She narrowed her eyes at him, instinctively sizing him up. And you are? Dr. Reed, he replied smoothly, slipping his hands into the pockets of his tailored pants. The confidence was stunningly evident in his voice, but the underlying mystery still wrapped around him like a shroud. Jenna's journalistic instincts were ignited. What brings you to my friend's office in the middle of this chaos? Are you involved in some way? The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. I could feel the weight of Jenna's scrutiny, pressing me to bridge the gap between the world of my mundane offices and the glimmering allure that Reed epitomized. I was torn. I wanted to reach out to her, to share everything, but instead, fear made my tongue heavy. My eyes found Reed's, searching for reassurance, for a signal to throw caution to the wind. "Oh, just a pleasant surprise," he said, flashing a disarming smile, but the flicker of something darker beneath the surface caught my attention. It was as if the room had constricted around us, the energy shifting and swirling like a storm waiting to be unleashed. Before I could unravel my thoughts, the building shuddered. A rumble echoed through the walls, shaking the fixtures that adorned my office. Jenna instinctively moved towards me, her protective instincts kicking in. Reed's expression remained unfazed, a mixture of nonchalance masqueraded as cool confidence. "What was that?" I gasped, and a sense of foreboding washed over me. "Just the foundation settling," he said lightly, though the flicker of concern in his eyes told a different story. There was something deeper brewing, something that brought a chill to my bones. My gut instinct told me this was more than a coincidence. As my heart raced, Jenna took a bold step forward. "If this is serious, maybe we should consider getting out of here," she suggested, her voice filled with concern. Reed pushed off the desk slowly, his posture shifting as he regarded us both. "You need to trust me, it's not what it looks like," he said, his tone a mixture of urgency and firm reassurance. "There's a larger issue at play here." Before I could process his words, Jenna interjected. "Larger issue? You've got to be joking. What are we supposed to think? Just because you're charming doesn't mean we can trust you." The air thickened with tension, a flurry of conflicting emotions swirling inside of me. I wanted to side with Jenna, yet I couldn't shake the magnetic pull I felt towards Reed, a strange blend of fear and desire. Just as my heart twisted in turmoil, a knock echoed on my office door, jolting us all. It cracked open slightly, revealing the anxious face of my assistant, Sarah, who looked just as pale as I felt. "Boss, you might want to see this." With a shared glance of trepidation, Jenna and I followed Sarah. As we stepped out, the atmosphere morphed, shifting from tension to chaos. The sounds of shouting and alarm filled the hall, drowning out any rational thought that in the chaos, I felt Reed's presence beside me, the warmth of him offering a sliver of comfort, even amid the rising storm. But my heart raced not just from fear but from the pulsing uncertainty that swelled between us. Suddenly, Jenna reached out and grabbed my arm, yanking me away from Reed. "We need to stick together. Whatever happens, please, don't drift away from us," she urged, her eyes locking onto mine. As we pushed forward, I could feel Reed's gaze burning into my back, and a new, haunting question formed in the shadows of my thoughts. What did he know that we didn't? And with every step I took, I felt a menace creeping, class-era revelation that loomed just out of reach, ready to unravel our very existence. The chaos swirled around us, as the implications of unanswered questions turned dark. I felt it in my bones. A storm was coming, and I could either face it head-on or be swept away in its wake. The air was thick with fear as Jenna, Sarah, and I pushed forward through the frantic office hallway. Shouts echoed through the building, mingling with the distant sounds of alarms, mingling like a dissonant symphony. My heart pounded against my ribcage, a steady reminder of just how fragile our grip on safety felt at that moment. Jenna's fingers gripped my arm like a vice, anchoring me in place, reminding me I wasn't alone. The scene that awaited us unfolded in a whirlwind of chaos. A group of panicked coworkers gathered near the elevator. They exchanged frantic murmurs, pointing towards the lobby, where the sound of raised voices pierced the air. Reed hovered behind us, his presence now a mixture of intrigue and dread. It struck me that he had not moved to join the uproar. Instead, he remained a few steps back, watching with a composed intensity. "What's happening?" I managed to ask Sarah, who stood beside me, her face a canvas of worry. "The lobby is in an uproar. Apparently, some people were injured in a fight," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady, but it tremored slightly. "It's getting worse, maybe we should call for help," Jenna proposed, her resolve surfacing even amid uncertainty. Before we could decide on a plan, a scream pierced through the walls. It was the sound of sheer panic, a raw fusion of terror and desperation. In that instant, the world around me shifted. I felt a surge of adrenaline course through me, igniting something fierce within. "Stay back," Reed warned, his voice low yet urgent as he took a step forward, instinctively putting himself between us and the chaos. "I don't want anyone getting hurt." It struck me how swiftly the balance had tipped. Once an enigma, Reed was now my protection against the unknown, a guardian drawn from the depths of confusion. But his stance stirred something within me, an internal conflict that mirrored the turmoil brewing outside. I craved to understand who he truly was, yet I feared what revelations might come to light. "Why do you care?" Jenna interjected, skepticism clinging to her words. "Who are you, really? You just walk in here like you own the place, and now you want us to trust you?" Reluctantly, a glimmer of vulnerability crossed Reed's eyes, revealing the cracks in his confident facade. "Trust cannot be given, only earned," he said, breaking his gaze from her to look at me. "But if you want to escape this, we need to move, now." Before I could process his words, more noise erupted from the stairwell. The ground trembled beneath me, rattling my nerves. I knew that our next steps were crucial, but doubt gnawed at me. Jenna caught my gaze, and for a brief moment, it felt as though we were the only two people in the world holding onto the fragile connection that had withstood the winds of change. "Listen," I said, forcing the words past the lump in my throat. "If we're going to make it through this, we have to work together. Nobody's going to get left behind." Jenna's expression softened, nodding as reassurance spread through us like a calm after the storm. But as I glanced toward Reed, still poised and watchful, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I might be sealing our own fate with my words. He was both our potential savior and the source of an echoing uncertainty that rippled beneath the surface. With voices growing louder, I nudged Jenna and Sarah forward, urging them toward the staircase at the far end of the hallway. Tension hung in the air like thick fog as the noise intensified, an unsettling reminder of the chaos that awaited us outside. "Wait," Reed called just as we reached the stairwell. "There's something you need to know." My heart dropped when he stepped in front of me, blocking my path. "What is it?" I demanded. Anxiety surged within me, making my voice sharper than I intended. "Once we leave this building, nothing will be the same. There are forces at play." That a sudden crash echoed, cutting through the tension, snatching our attention. The doorframe splintered under the force of a kicking boot, and an ominous figure lunged into the hallway, silhouetted by the chaos unfolding behind it. In that instant, shock froze the air around us, and my breath caught. Jenna screamed, pulling me close. Time slowed as Reed stepped forward, determined and fierce, the glow of his earlier persona fading into that of a protector. "Get back!" he shouted, asserting his presence. As I clutched Jenna's arm, my world splintered into fragments of confusion and dread. Who was this man who had stepped into my life so suddenly? And what dark secrets swirled beneath his confident veneer? The figure in the doorway moved further into the light, a name echoing dangerously through my mind. I had never imagined that the man who held the key to our salvation or our destruction could also be a stranger destined to upend everything I had ever known. In that moment, surrounded by fear and uncertainty, the realization hit me hard and sharp. The storm barely began to unfold, and as the shadows crawled closer, the very foundations of my world were set to be shaken beyond recognition. The air crackled with tension as the figure stepped into the illumination of the hallway lights. I blinked, struggling to make sense of who I was staring at. It was Alex, the office's notorious playboy, whose charm and quick wit had become almost legendary among our coworkers. A mix of shock and disbelief washed over me. What was he doing here? Why now? But there was an edge to him, a darkness I had never seen before flickering in his eyes. He glanced around, taking in the chaos, and his expression shifted from one of confusion to something more calculated. "Everyone! Get back!" he instructed, his voice a rough growl that cut through the panic echoing in the hall. "Alex?" I stammered, the familiarity of his name feeling foreign amidst the tension. "What's happening? Are you all right?" My words seemed to hang in the air, teetering on the brink of understanding. Just moments ago, I thought we were facing an unknown danger. Now, it felt as though the greatest peril was within our own ranks. Reed's body tensed beside me. I could sense his uncertainty radiating like a beacon, but instead of answering, Alex turned to Reed, a dark glint in his eyes. "You shouldn't be here," he spat, menace curling his lips. "You need to leave now." "Not without them I want," Reed replied evenly, his posture unwavering as he faced the threat that was now Alex. I could hardly breathe, the tension between these two men crackled like electricity, igniting the air around us. "Who are you?" Jenna whispered, her voice trembling as she pulled closer to me, the fear in her eyes palpable. In that moment, our unity felt more significant than ever, a fragile but strong bond tethering us together. Reed's gaze shifted to me, a silent plea in those rich, dark depths. "We need to trust each other above everything else," he warned, the urgency in his tone pressing down on my chest like a weight. "What do you know?" I challenged Alex, my voice steadier than I felt. "Why are you putting us in danger?" For a moment, he hesitated, and I thought I saw a flicker of the old, charismatic Playboy. But it dissipated, revealing the man who had found himself at the center of chaos. "You have no idea what's happening here, do you?" His smirk faltered. "They've come for something, but they'll take everyone out in their path. They won't care who gets hurt. No. I shot back, the protectiveness of my friends boiling through me. "You don't get to brush us off like collateral damage. We deserve to know." Behind me, Jenna gasped as a loud crash resonated from below, drawing our attention back to the staircase. "We don't have time for this," Sarah urged, her lips trembling. "We need a plan." As if igniting something primal within me, I stepped forward, refusing to let fear overcome me. "We stick together. We move, and we move fast." I locked eyes with both men, each full of their own conflicting motives. "If we're going to get out of here, I need both of you. Whatever this is between you two, it can't matter now." The atmosphere shifted, and for a brief moment, it felt as though both men were weighing my words, battling against their pride and egos. But the sounds of chaos continued to rise, demanding we take action. "Fine," Reed said, though his eyes remained locked on Alex. "We can hash this out later, but we've got to get out first." "Let's go," Alex said, an edge of urgency to his voice that sent a chill through me. He motioned toward the rear exit behind him, the path I hadn't even considered. "This way. But you have to trust Might's the only way we're going to make it out alive." With my heart pounding, I turned to Jenna and Sarah, their frightened faces mirroring my own mix of anxiety and determination. "Do you trust me?" I whispered, uncertain yet resolute. After a heartbeat, Jenna nodded, and I could see the flicker of bravery igniting deep within her. Sarah followed, drawing strength from her friends as we moved toward the only sliver of possible escape. "But if you try anything," Jenna warned Alex, her glare fierce enough to cut through the fog of fear enveloping us. "That I want," he said, and yet there was a hint of something buried beneath his tone, a promise, mixed with deception. As we maneuvered through the shadowed halls, I could feel the weight of impending danger looming, threatening to engulf us. We barely made it a few steps down the corridor when sirens blared, lighting up the distant exit with the ominous glare of red and blue. My heart sank. It was too late. "Move!" Reed barked, and fear propelled us forward. The adrenaline coursed through my veins as the abyss of uncertainty consumed my mind. Would this escape bring us to safety, or deeper into a trap set by forces unknown? Just as we reached the heavy double doors that promised a semblance of freedom, a sudden realization washed over me, a truth that felt blurred in the chaos. The connections I thought I had with these people were beginning to unravel, revealing glimpses of their hidden pasts and the stakes involved. The fight wasn't just outside, it was within us. We paused at the threshold, breaths labored and hearts racing. And then I heard Ida low murmur, a sound fragmenting the air beyond the double doors that made my skin crawl. Out! Quickly! Alex urged, pushing us ahead. But before I could step through, that murmur rose, words articulated in the chaos, and chills swept through me. I caught a glimpse of Reed's face that turned all the blood in my veins to ice. Do you really think you can escape? The voice was deep, rich, and unmistakable. It was a voice I had recognized, one I never expected to hear here, in this moment. My mind raced, unearthing truths about ties that bound us, secrets woven through all our lives, and the realization pushed heavy against my chest. As I pushed through the doors and caught a glimpse of the lurking danger ahead, I could scarcely prepare myself for the revelation waiting just beneath the surface. The game was only beginning, and the players were more entangled than I ever imagined. The moment we crossed the threshold, the chaos outside enveloped us like a tempest, each gust of wind carrying with it the scent of fear and uncertainty. The night sky was an abyss above, punctuated by sporadic flashes of blue lights piercing through the darkness. My heart raced as I scanned the street, trying to make sense of the escalating danger we had just escaped. Is this the way to safety? Jenna's voice trembled, clinging to hope like a lifeline. Not for long, Alex replied, his tone clipped, pulling the weight of urgency along with him as he led the way. I could still feel Reed's presence, his strong frame pushing against the chaos behind us, his eyes darting around as if seeking any lurking threat. We hurried down the alley behind the building, the shadows wrapping around us like an unwelcome shroud. It was here, buzzing with adrenaline, I could finally process the impact of Alex's sudden arrival. You didn't have to come, I blurted, my frustration bubbling to the surface, gripped by the magnitude of what was at stake. What was I supposed to do? Let you face this alone? He shot back, irritation lining his features. I didn't ask for your help. I argued, though part of me felt a surge of gratitude. This conflict, the emotional tug-of-war, wasn't what I needed now. But I could feel the tremors of his internal struggle as much as my own, the silence that followed hung thick with unspoken truths. Just as I was about to vocalize the turmoil brewing inside me, Reed cut through the tension. Focus, he said sharply, deafening our petty grievances. We need a safe place to regroup and plan our next move. I nodded, redirecting all my attention outward. The darkness enveloping us echoed with distant sounds of turmoil, car horns blared, and voices shouted, mingling with the sirens that had triggered our flight. Fear propelled me deeper into the alley, the world around me felt surreal, like a painting smeared with uncertainty. We approached a small, dimly lit storefront that appeared abandoned, its windows dusty and its sign barely legible. The air there held a pungent scent of decay. I hesitated. What if someone is already in there? The cops will be everywhere, and this is the last place they'll look for us, Alex reassured, managing a facade of confidence. As we slipped inside, the darkness swallowed us whole, but it was a different kind of darkness, one that held secrets, perhaps even safety. A faint glimmer from a storefront display illuminated the interior slightly. I noticed the remnants of old furniture, a long-neglected place that bore witness to forgotten stories. Here, Reed whispered, motioning toward the back of the store where shadows seemed to gather. We piled inside a disheveled closet, the air dense and uncomfortable as we listened for any indication that we had been followed. My phone. Jenna piped up, producing her device that flickered weakly in the dimness. I need to call for help. No service, I murmured, peering over her shoulder. A sense of dread crept into my bones as I noticed the static on her screen. We have to focus on each other right now, it's not just about us, Reed interjected, his voice a low murmur laden with concern. We don't know who else is involved, who might be tracking us, can we trust him? Jenna asked quietly, her eyes darting toward Alex. The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. As long as we have no choice, I said, feeling the weight of uncertainty settle in the pit of my stomach. Alex ran a hand through his hair, the tension in his shoulders easing only slightly. None of us wanted this, he said, his voice softer now, as if he had buried something deeper within him. But I know more than you realize. We're all tangled in this mess. I can help. What do you mean? I pressed, feeling the urgency rising again. He hesitated, and for a split second, I glimpsed what lay beneath his bravado. My family, they're involved in things that go beyond just contracts and deals. If they find out we're looking for the truth, well, I'll be far more at risk. What truth? Reed shot back, his forehead creased with suspicion. Before Alex could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed outside, jolting us into silence. My heart raced as I turned to them, fear and adrenaline coursing through my veins. This wasn't just about escaping anymore, it was about revelations that could change everything. That I don't want to hear anything else, I said fiercely, feeling a part of me that didn't want to trust any longer. Not until we're sure we're safe. Let's think logically. Where do we go from here? The footsteps continued, drawing closer, a blend of urgency and threat piercing through the moment. My resolve started to waver. Would our next decision lead us to freedom or something more sinister? Then, before any of us could come to a conclusion, I heard a familiar voice emanating from just beyond the door. You didn't think I'd let you get away that easily, did you? A face I never imagined seeing again appeared, one I had hoped to turn a page on but now found hauntingly present in this moment. The stakes had risen, and so had the emotional turmoil within me. Betrayal runs deep, I thought, grappling with the truth standing right before me. The weight of secrets threatened to crush any glimmer of safety I had sought. Would this encounter ignite my deepest fears, or would it offer a lifeline that could unravel all the lies? The air in the cramped closet grew thick as the words beckoned echoes of my distant past, forcing me to confront the reality I had hoped to escape. The familiar voice carried a dissonance of memories. It was called forth by someone whose mere presence shattered the fragile veneer of safety I had clung to. Why are you here? I breathed, my voice remarkably steady given the storm raging inside me. I was looking for you, he replied, stepping into view, the flickering light casting sharp shadows on his features. Lucas. The charming enigma from my previous life, the one who seemed to always be in the right place at the wrong time. His smile had once been a siren call, and now it was an unwelcome intrusion to my reality. And you thought crashing into a dangerous situation was a wise choice? Alex snapped, tension surging like electric currents among us. That I didn't think it would be this bad, Lucas retorted, his bravado wavering as he glanced around the cramped space, his brown eyes catching mine with an intensity that sparked both recognition and resentment. I just wanted to make sure you were okay? We're hiding from I started, but Reed cut me off, the pragmatic leader in him overriding the emotional chaos. Options, he demanded, his voice steady and authoritative. Anyone here willing to suggest a plan before we're discovered? Lucas straightened, and for a moment, I saw a glimpse of the boy I once knew. I have a way out. I overheard something tonight that you need to know, about why all of this is happening. That I hesitated. Could I trust him? The thought tightened like a noose in my chest. What do you know? I pressed, keeping my voice low. Jenna shifted beside me, her breath quickening as she anticipated Lucas' answer. They're targeting you because of some old investigations, he explained carefully, looking directly at me as if my life depended on it. There's a connection between your father's work and a larger scheme that involves not just the local crew, but far-reaching networks that operate in shadows. I stumbled upon information I wasn't supposed to see. My heart sank, slicing through the fragile hopes I harbored. You said my father was out of it's not involved anymore, I stammered, feeling reality close in like a vice. That he wasn't, but once he got back in touch, Lucas replied, tension shimmering between us, it opened doors that should have remained closed. The fallout affected people close to you, people who want to clean up this mess at any cost. Do you understand what you're saying? I spat, anger and fear blending into a toxic cocktail. My father is the reason all of this is happening. We're running from his ghosts. Listen, I won't pretend I know everything, Lucas continued, his voice lowering further, and yet every word felt like a punch to my shield of composure. But if you want to survive, you need to make a choice quickly. They'll come for all of us. The weight of his words settled heavily, and I couldn't shake the sensation that he had stepped into my life again to re-inject chaos. I caught a glance at Alex's profile, his jaw tightened, an unspoken acknowledgement resting heavily on his shoulders. Do you have a plan, or has this just become another chaotic exit for all of us? Reed interrupted again, his focus unyielding amid our emotional tumult. I can get you out of here. My car is parked a few blocks away, Lucas insisted, hope lacing his tone. But we need to move fast. Where will we go? Jenna asked, her voice tremulous yet curious. That I can't tell you everything, but I have contacts who can help us make sense of what's going on. I know people you can trust, Lucas said earnestly. Do you expect us to trust you? I countered, my doubts simmering beneath the surface. You disappeared once, why should we believe you won't do it again? Because I'm here now, he shot back, his frustration laced with a plea for understanding. Because I've been tracking this mess, and I can't let you get caught in the middle of it. The footsteps outside had stilled, but my heart raced. We don't have the luxury of time, Reed boomed softly. If we don't decide, they'll find us regardless of who stands outside that door. I say we move. Perilous silence filled our small bunker, each heartbeat echoing like a ticking clock. I looked into the depths of Lucas' eyes, trying to discern truth from the weight of his past, all while battling the danger looming right beyond our sanctuary. Would trusting him mean relinquishing more than I could afford, or could it bring a sliver of hope amidst this gathering storm? Fine, I found myself saying, surprised at the conviction in my own voice. Well, follow your lead. But if this turns out to be a trap, you'll have my head, Lucas finished, his expression reflective of the old camaraderie we once shared before life diverged our paths. Let's get out of here, Alex urged, breaking through the tension as he pushed open the closet door, stepping cautiously into the darkened store. But just as we were about to leave the safety of that forgotten space, a new sound shattered our moment, the crackle of a walkie-talkie, sharp and commanding, breaking through the silence. Move to Sector 9, a voice called, chilling and urgent. We have a lead. The target is still in the vicinity. Panic coursed through me like electricity, an imminent sense of danger looming larger than before. We had only moments to act, and with an unexpected twist in our already twisted tale, it felt as if the world was unraveling once again, demanding we play a part in an unfolding drama where the stakes might have risen beyond our comprehension. My heart raced as the urgency of the situation settled like a thick fog around us. The remnants of our plan felt fragile, more like wishes than actionable steps. We need to go now, I urged, fear bubbling beneath my surface. Reed nodded sharply and stepped out first, keeping his body low, followed by Jenna, who took a deep breath as if steeling herself for yet another leap into the unknown. Lucas motioned for me to follow, his hand resting instinctively on my back, a gesture laden with unspoken promises. I hesitated, casting a wary glance back into the shadows. The closet felt safer, a space where I had managed to compartmentalize the swirling chaos of my reality. But the crackle of the walkie-talkie pierced through the chatter in my mind like a hornet, fueling my decision. Swallowing hard, I stepped out into the dim light of the store. My senses heightened, I could feel the air thick with tension. Which way? Jenna whispered, her voice barely breaking through the weighted silence. Lucas pointed toward the rear exit. There's an alley behind this place. We can slip out unnoticed if we move fast. We hustled toward the door, Reed leading the charge while I stayed close to Lucas. His presence was both a comfort and a torment, drawing me back to a time before everything had frayed. I could feel the pull of our shared history, tainted but not entirely broken. As we reached the back door, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed down the corridor, and my heart stumbled. Hurry, Lucas urged softly, pushing the door open with a careful gentleness. The cool night air rushed against my skin as we spilled into the alley, the gray concrete juxtaposing the night sky dotted with stars. It was a stark reminder of how trivial the universe could be while our lives were crumbling. I felt the chasm widening within me, a rift growing with every second spent in this perilous dance between danger and freedom. As Lucas guided us further down the alley, a sudden thought struck me. What did you find out from your contacts? I pressed, the words tumbling forth before I could rein them in. His jaw tightened. There's more to this than your father's files. People are using the chaos to settle old scores. Your involvement, it goes beyond innocent ties. A shiver danced down my spine at his revelation. What does that mean? Are you saying they're after me, not just because of my father? Exactly, he replied, urgency tightening his voice. There are powerful players involved, ones who believe you hold the key to something much bigger. What could that possibly be? I nearly cried, the weight of the implication threatening to ensnare me further. I'm not special, I'm just caught in a crossfire. Maybe they think you are, Lucas shot back, his gaze compelling me to confront the truth. We need to keep our heads down until we have a plan. Ahead, Reed signaled us to slow as we approached a lit street. His cautious demeanor reflected a leader navigated by instinct. The glow of streetlights bathed our faces in a spectrum of uncertainty. Just then, a car pulled up. My heart leaped into my throat as I caught sight of the hood ornament glinting in the light, powerful and unmistakable. That can't be a good sign, Jenna murmured, dread hanging at the edges of her voice. Reed stepped forward, squinting to ascertain if this was friend or foe. But before he could make a decision, the passenger window rolled down. Inside sat an unrecognizable figure, cloaked in shadows, and I braced myself for the torrent of chaos loomed. Get in, the figure said, voice steady but lurking with an edge. Who are you? Reed asked, battling skepticism and desperation. Someone who can help you, the person replied, a hint of familiarity sparking in my memory like a distant echo. But we don't have time for questions. They're already on you. Lucas exchanged glances with me, and I recognized the tension in his set jaw. This could be a trap, he warned, urgency surfacing in his tone. I stood at the precipice, caught between the past and the uncertain future. We don't have a choice, I said finally, realizing the unwavering truth that gripped me. My options were dwindling, and I could feel the invisible hands of fate tightening around my throat. As we clambered into the back seat, a breath caught in my throat. The figure turned to face me directly, the streetlight illuminating their features. I squinted into the darkness and gasped, the realization striking me like an icy wave. My God, it's you, I whispered, shock igniting a flurry of memories that had lain dormant in a corner of my mind that I had never imagined our paths would cross again like this, yet here I was, trapped in the web of my father's legacy, as the truth clawed its way to the surface. The air inside the car was heavy with a pensive silence, each of us processing the shock of recognition. My heart hammered against my ribcage, an insistent reminder of how the gravity of my situation had shifted yet again. The figure sitting in the front, framed by shadows and the dim glow of the streetlight, was Lucas's brother, Ethan, the prodigal son who had vanished years ago. Ethan? I barely managed to breathe out, disbelief mingling with an awkward surge of nostalgia. Memories flooded my mind, laughter echoing from summers spent in the sun, the warmth of youthful camaraderie shattered by years lost, and the looming specter of my father's machinations. Yes, he replied, his eyes narrowing in the darkness, capturing the remnants of who we once were. I didn't think I'd find you here, but I have something you need to know. Reed shifted in his seat, the tension around him palpable. You've been gone for years. Why now? What do you want with her? Ethan met my gaze, and for a moment, it felt like we were the only two souls in the universe. The world beyond the car receded, swallowed by the turmoil of my past. To help you, Iris. You don't understand the depths of the situation you're caught in. Someone's been tracking you, he added, the weight of his words sinking into my chest, rendering me breathless. They think you possess information about the files. About your father's dealings. And trust me when I say, they are not merciful. Why would he put me in danger? I fumbled, my voice quaking as uncertainty boiled beneath my skin. What was he involved in? This doesn't make any sense. The car jolted forward, and I almost missed Ethan's reply as I grasped the handle of the door, wrestling with the urge to flee. Your father was entangled in a web of corrupt deals. It was bigger than any of us imagined. He left ahead, but you his legacy, this is what they think they can leverage. A sickening awareness curled in my gut. So they want to manipulate me because of my father's choices? This is a nightmare, I whispered, the reality stinging with every word. I don't want any part of this, but as the vehicle merged into the darkness, I knew that I no longer had a choice. A tangle of hope and despair roiled within me, a conflicting maze where panic clashed against the small flickers of resilience. Then help us, Jenna interjected, her voice steadier than I felt. Help us understand what we're up against. Ethan's gaze flickered with something, the remnants of familial love and lost trust. There are factions, Iris. Those who worked with your father and those who wanted him out of the picture. The stakes are higher than your life, they're bidding for control over everything he left behind. There are people who care about you, Lucas chimed in, his eyes searching as if looking for cracks that would allow a sliver of hope to seep through. We can keep you safe, just stay close. Safe? I echoed, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. This is what it means to be safe? I feel like I'm sinking into a whirlpool, and every time I grasp for a breath, I'm just pulled deeper. There's a hideout, Ethan interrupted, his voice firm. I can get you there without drawing attention, but we'll need to move quickly. The moment they catch wind of where you are, I can't keep running. I cut him off, frustration spilling over. This was never my fight. I never asked for any of this. Tension crackled in the air, and Lucas reached for my hand, offering warmth in the chaos. And yet here we are, he said softly, the flicker of empathy evident in his eyes. You can't go back, and you can't fight a battle you don't understand. We need to find answers first. Ethan turned the wheel sharply, the car veering into the darkness of the night after another street as danger loomed around every corner. The streets flooded past us, yet my heart felt tethered in a space of terrified paralysis. Hope ricocheted around us like a fragile thread stretched too tight. There's something else, Ethan nearly whispered, his voice trembling with an urgency that made my stomach drop. There's been a contract out on you for months. The moment they realize you're still alive, they will stop at nothing to find you. My breath caught in my throat, the gravity of his words sinking deep like a lead weight. My thoughts churned furiously, battling the dizzying spiral of despair that threatened to swallow me whole. As we sped into the night, my heart whispered of survival against an encroaching storm, but the shadows loomed ever closer, and I could feel the icy fingers of fate tightening around me. The car slowed, and Ethan looked back urgently. Remember, trust no one. Not even me. Just then, the sound of a gunshot shattered the stillness of the night. Panic surged through me as the world exploded into chaos, and I turned, bracing for the unimaginable. The sound of the gunshot pierced through the air like a talon clawing at my mind, leaving everything in a state of frozen horror. Time seemed to stretch as I turned, my body instinctively reacting to the imminent danger that loomed around us. The car jerked to a halt, and adrenaline surged through my veins, igniting a primal urge to survive. Get down! Ethan shouted, his voice cutting through the shock like a knife, as he hunched low in his seat and reached for the glove compartment. It felt surreal, like one of those action films, but this wasn't fiction, it was my life, and death loomed just beyond the tinted glass. Jenna gasped beside me, her hand clenching my arm with a grip that conveyed panic and fear. What's happening? She breathed, her eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. Ethan pulled out a handgun, its cold metal gleaming beneath the faint glow of street lamps filtering through the car windows. Stay low, he urged again, shifting his gaze toward the windshield. I could hear the faint sounds of footsteps approaching, echoing ominously against the pavement. My heart pounded in my ears, drowning out everything else. A scream clawed at my throat, but I suffocated it, forcing myself to breathe. It wasn't the time for weakness, it was a moment for survival. Why would they shoot? How did they find us? I tried to keep my voice steady, but it trembled like the leaves in the wind. They must have realized I was back in town, Ethan replied, his eyes narrowing in focus. They always track me. They must think you're here with me, that you're the key to everything. I'm not a key. I'm just Iris. I shouted, the frustration boiling over as the reality of being hunted sunk deeper into my bones. Again, there was silence, but it was the calm before the storm. The heavy footfalls grew louder, and I caught a glimpse of a figure tall, intimidating, and draped in darkness. The sense of foreboding wrapped around me, tightening like a vice. Then, the figure spoke, their voice deep and distorted. "Ethan, you've made a grave mistake coming back. Hand over the girl, and this doesn't have to end badly." "No." Panic clawed at my throat as I recoiled at the thought of being handed over like a misguided pawn in a dangerous game. My mind raced, thinking of a way out of survival. We can figure this out. Jenna's voice rose above mine, desperation lacing her tone. "We don't have to do this." "Shut up," Ethan snapped, his gaze unwavering from the figure outside. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." There was another shift in the shadows, and suddenly, two more figures appeared, flanking the first, each wielding weapons that glinted menacingly in the scant light. I could feel my heart racing, each pulse echoing in the silence of the impending confrontation. "What do they want from us?" I gasped, my voice barely above a whisper, trembling with fear. "They want power, Iris. Your father's legacy is worth more than just money, it's control," he replied, steely determination etched into his features as he prepared himself for the unthinkable. In an instant, I felt an unexpected warmth envelop me as Lucas slipped his hand into mine, grounding me amid the chaos. "Well, figure out a way." "I promise." "Trust no one," Ethan reminded, his voice tight as he narrowed his focus on the advancing figures. "Not even those who claim to care for you." With that, gunshots rang out like thunder, and one of the figures fell to the ground with a sickening thud. My stomach churned as the realization of the violence in this world struck home, the very world I was unwillingly drawn into. "Drive!" shouted Ethan, his voice breaking through my stunned silence as he aimed toward the remaining threats. Lucas lunged for the wheel while Ethan prepared to counter whatever action was thrown at us. My heart crashed against my ribs, a cacophony of fear and disbelief as my world spiraled farther into darkness, but just as the engine roared to life, the sound of screeching tires echoed behind us. A second vehicle barreled forward, breaking through the night, a stark silhouette against the moonlit street. "Get out!" Ethan yelled, but it was tragically too late. I turned in horror as the headlights illuminated the chaos around us, revealing not just even more armed figures but also painful familiarity. My breath left me in a rush, a whirlwind of recognition sweeping through. "Mom?" I croaked, the disbelief wrapping around me like a shroud. There she stood, framed in headlights, her expression frayed and wild as she desperately searched for me amid the chaos that shattered my already shattered life. As laughter and gunfire escalated around us, I realized I was standing at the crossroads of two worlds, the haunting memories of my past colliding violently with an uncertain present. And just like that, I was thrust into a confrontation I had no control over, the lines between safety and peril blurring fast in the dark. The chaos erupted around me, a cacophony of sound and emotion spiraling out of control. I could hardly comprehend the mixture of fear and familiarity threatening to overwhelm my senses. My mother stood there, unyielding in the headlights, remnants of a past I thought I had buried surfacing in a wave of confusion. "Mom!" I called, desperation clawing at my throat. "What are you doing here, Iris? Get in the car!" she shouted, urgency lacing her words as she waved frantically, each gesture a plea for my safety. But the moment felt surreal, like a grotesque play where the script was lost. Suddenly, I was thrust into the very heart of danger, and the stakes had never felt higher. Before I could react, the thud of gunfire echoed again, and a second figure fell. Lucas clenched my hand tighter, pulling me back as he strained to protect me. "We're not leaving without knowing what this is about," he urged, but his conviction wavered against the rising tide of chaos. Ethan turned sharply, his fingers gripping the gun tightly, eyes darting back and forth between our attackers and the two sets of headlights piercing the night. "I won't let them take you, Iris," he said fiercely, even with danger closing in. "You don't have to go back to her." The word "her" fell like an anchor in the turmoil. My heart ached, pulsating with the weight of divided alliances, loyalty to family clashing with my desire for autonomy and truth. But in that moment, all I could think about was survival. I glanced from Ethan to the space where my mother waited, the thin line between safety and danger growing slimmer by the second. Now. Jenna's voice broke through, snapping me back to the urgency surrounding us. We need to move, or we'll get caught in the crossfire. Mom, please. I shouted again, desperation spilling from my lips. But her face shifted, resolve grounding her as she faced the varying tides of chaos surrounding me. I am not leaving without you. She screamed, her fierce determination mixed with a hint of fear. With Ethan still positioned to secure our whereabouts, I found myself torn once more, like a leaf caught in a tumultuous storm. But the storm was closing in fast, and as my mind reeled, I let instinct guide me. Lucas, we have to go. I shouted, my own heart pounding, frenzied emotion surging within me. I jerked my head towards the back of the alley where moments ago our safety had seemed assured. We moved to the car. Now, without waiting for a reply, I sprinted toward the rear exit, eyes narrowed against the chaos. I could hear footsteps behind me, unaware if they were friend or foe, but I focused on the fleeting silhouette of hope that was freedom. I felt the electric tension shared between us, each step resonating with purpose as adrenaline spurred me forward. Ethan. I called, my voice breaking through the din. We need to escape. Move. We barreled around the corner into the alley, hearts racing. The car, Lucas' old hatchback, sat waiting like a steadfast beacon against the swirling maelstrom. I didn't wait for hesitation, swinging the door open wide, frantic movements colliding with our reality. Get in, everyone. I shouted as Jenna and Lucas followed closely, with Ethan lingering just outside, poised and alert. But as I turned back to him, a horrifying realization dawned. Figures were closing in around us, shadows swelling with malicious intent. Ethan, now. I urged, fear clenching my heart tightly as he lingered in front of the advancing threats. A sharp explosion of sound ripped through the night, a quick succession of gunfire that sent shivers down my spine. Ethan swung the gun toward our assailants, his eyes betraying a flicker of doubt as he steadied his grip. "I'll hold them off," he shouted, but a surge of defiance swept over me. No. I cried, desperate emotion overriding rationality. "Ethan, don't you dare. We go together. We'll figure this out. We can't leave anyone behind." And in that moment, when lives hung delicately in the balance of action and consequence, I saw the comprehension thread itself onto his wary features. "Iris," he started, but I pushed forward. "Together. We either all leave, or none of us do." My voice vibrated with urgency, cutting through the air thick with tension. With a sharp nod of conviction, he jumped into the car, just as another shot rang out. The weight of our choices hung heavy in the air as Lucas slammed the door behind us, and I barely held back the sob that threatened to overtake me. "Drive. Move," I commanded, watching Ethan's determined visage juxtaposed with a rising tide of danger. The moment the car lurched forward, the world outside devolved into an array of chaos. The weight of our turbulent escape surged, lighting the air around us as we floored into the street, tires screeching. The figures behind receded, and my heart pounded harder against my chest. But as we sped into the night, my heart ached with uncertainty. It wasn't freedom I felt, but the sharp edge of realization that no matter how far we ran, fate would find us again. "Where are we going?" Jenna asked, anxiety lacing her voice. "Somewhere safe," Lucas replied, eyes fixed on the road ahead but his features revealing nothing but concern mingled with determination. "Do you really believe that?" I pressed, emotion clawing at my throat. "That's not enough anymore, Lucas. If we don't confront what we're tangled in woes after us, there are factions involved you have no understanding of," Ethan interrupted, his gaze stoic, yet the edges of his voice quivered with underlying fear. "Your father's mess can't remain uncovered for long, then let's uncover it." I shouted, the anger spilling over, but I felt the vulnerability creep alongside. "I need to know why I'm being hunted, and why my life has turned into a battlefield," silence enveloped us, the weight of our fate hanging palpably in the air, suffocating yet electric. As the streets blurred past, all of our lives entwined in danger synergized into one burning question: who was holding the strings and how could we break free without losing all that mattered? The answers are coming, Iris. But until then, you need to trust us, Lucas said, fierce loyalty lighting a fire in his eyes. But as understanding dawned, a chilling realization gripped my heart: the most profound betrayal isn't just born from outside forces, but also the secrets we hold within ourselves. And without grasping onto truth and trusting not just others but myself, I would remain prisoner to the storm swirling around me. My willingness to confront it would write the final chapter of my own story, and as the night unfolded, I felt the power to reclaim my fate dwell within me. Then let's uncover the truth, I said, finally surrendering to the undeniable force of resolve, an unyielding flame that ignited deep within. Together, we face whatever comes, and deep within the storm, beneath layers of uncertainty, a flicker of hope surged, reminding me that love and truth were the only weapons strong enough to challenge the chaos that threatened to consume us whole. As the car sped off into the unknown, I took a breath that shook the very foundation of my heart, a promise securing the cords binding us. This was not our end. It was a beginning, startlingly alive, steeped in the complexity of circumstances that we now vowed to untangle, reckoning that love could indeed be a fierce force, a shield against the darkness that had long threatened to extinguish us. Together, we would stand, and in our unity lay our strength. And as we dove deeper into the embrace of night, I knew that somehow, we would find our way, and in that moment, my final thoughts crystallized: maybe in confronting this darkness, we could reclaim the light.